We are pleased to have with us the CEO of Dotz Nano, Sharon Malka. Dotz Nanotechnology is a company focused on developing innovative carbon-based solutions for carbon capture and product authentication to address the global environmental and industrial challenges today. Sharon joined Dotz in March of 2023 and previously served as CEO of MediWound. Dotz has 560 million shares, trades around Australian about 10 cents for a $40 million market cap. We'll have Sharon give a presentation, and then we'll follow up with some Q&A.
So thank you very much, and good afternoon to all the audience, and thank you for joining us today at the Gabelli Conference. My name is Sharon Malka, and I'm the CEO of Dotz Nano, a pioneering developer of climate and industrial nanotechnologies. In the next few minutes, I will walk you through how our breakthrough technologies are transforming industries, advancing sustainability, and offering exciting opportunities for growth and investment. We at Dotz are not just imagining the future. We are actually building the future. We are creating innovative solutions that harness the power of nanotechnology in order to solve some of the pressing environmental and industrial challenges globally. We believe we have a unique combination of ingredients that position us to drive growth. One is a validated disruptive technologies that I will elaborate in more details soon. Second one is the fact that we have highly experienced scientists and leadership team that have a track record of leading growth. And the third one is strategic partnerships in place. Our first product, or first asset, Dotz Shield, is an in-product tagging technology, which is now commercial. And our second asset, Dotz Earth, is our carbon capture technology, which is our current primary focus today for both direct air capture and point source. We'd like to start with our Dotz Shield technology and our commercial solution for corrosion inhibitors. During the last couple of years, we successfully developed our product tagging comprised of dozens of optical markers and mobile detectors. This actually provides a compatible with multiple hosting material and enables easy to use in-field real-time detection for a range of application and industries. But I want to focus on our first commercial solution, which is a proprietary marker for corrosion inhibitor monitoring. We recently received the first commercial order from one of the leading oil and gas service providers in the US, following few years of joint development. This solution enables on-site detection and quantification of corrosion inhibitor in real time, resulting with significant maintenance cost saving, on-site dosage management, and reducing risk of infrastructure damage. This notable accomplishment marking a critical step in corrosion inhibitor marker commercialization and underscore the market recognition in the solution value of its commercial opportunity. Now, I would like to move to our carbon capture technologies. We believe we have all the key elements to be a leading provider of carbon management technologies. Our proprietary technology demonstrated superior performance for both DAC application and point source application. It was validated by third parties, highlighting the potential to become a game changer factor in driving the cost of carbon down. We operate in rapidly growing market driven by increasing regulation and strong governmental and industrial support. And we have a broad partnership opportunities along the CCS supply chain as well as the DAC supply chain for global scaling to monetize our innovation. Our core expertise at Dotz lies in nanoengineering and material science. The company's unique strategy integrates innovative sorbent materials that we develop with advanced process design with a goal to enable low-cost carbon capture solution for both segments, direct air capture and point source application. For those of you who are less familiar with those two terms, point source application is capturing CO2 emissions at the point of emission at the hard-to-abate industry facility, as opposed to direct air capture, which is removing the CO2 from the atmosphere. Generally speaking, we all know that solid sorbents are considered the future of carbon capture. We developed novel sorbent materials with exceptional performance, leading to great impact, making carbon capture and carbon removal economically viable. Our first family of sorbents are the DAC sorbents, which is chemically modified sorbent for low concentration of CO2. Our second family of sorbents is the point source sorbents, which is specifically designed for physical absorption with very low energy requirements. Both sorbents families have been verified and endorsed by third parties, highlighting superior performance compared to commercial sorbents. These include high CO2 working capacity and selectivity, which ensure maximizing efficiency, low energy consumption, which makes them economically viable, and stability, which enable extended usage of those sorbents. Let's take a closer look to our technologies, starting with our high-performance DAC sorbent. Techno-economic analysis that we conducted suggested that our sorbent can reduce the cost of capture for DAC in more than 85% compared to the first-of-kind technology used today. This is due to three main key drivers. One is the exceptional high CO2 working capacity, the low energy consumption, and the low capex required for this system. Dotz sorbent demonstrated the highest absorption capacity for DAC. Actually, as you can see in those two charts, more than 2 times higher than a commercial DAC sorbent, which is widely used today in the industry. It also yielded a significant improvement in productivity while minimizing energy requirements, representing a transformative shift in carbon capture technologies. And the sorbent maintains its performance over extended use, demonstrated both thermal and oxidative stability. Following the successful process simulation you saw before, we just recently completed a lab-scale pilot runs for this sorbent, which was very successful. We actually demonstrated the highest working capacity at a very low regeneration temperature, below 80 degrees Celsius. We ended up with very high purity, almost 100% of CO2, and it demonstrated continuous absolute CO2 uptake among multiple runs over and over of adsorption-desorption cycles. Our number one priority for 2025 is to achieve outdoor field demonstration pilot later this year. We plan to have this pilot in the second half of 2025 to be followed by a market-ready module in 2026. And moving to our cost-efficient point source sorbent family, we are confident in our ability that the use of those sorbent in those hard-to-abate industries can significantly reduce the cost of CO2 capture and offer cost-efficient solution for hard-to-abate industry. Actually, to reduce the cost in those hard-to-abate industries from where it is today, which is around $80 to $120 per ton, to around $40 to $50 per ton. Same here, mainly due to the sorbent working capacity, the low regeneration energy requirement, and the low cost of the sorbent itself. Why we achieve these attributes of the sorbent? Mainly because our designed nanoporous sorbents have very high volume of ultra micropores that are responsible for the physical absorption of CO2. This yielded with superior performance compared to commercial sorbents. And as you can see in those charts, we actually got 3 times higher absorption capacity, significant higher selectivity, and much lower affinity to moisture. As part of this family of sorbents, one of the sorbents is actually sorbents that we are manufacturing from plastic waste. What we actually do is we take a plastic waste as a key raw material and we upcycling it, ending up with an active carbon that fits and tailored for CO2 capture. And those are the results of this specific sorbent. Lab scale pilot demonstration conducted with our strategic partner Sintef demonstrated results with superior absorption capacity, ultra low energy requirements, and demonstrated good thermal stability and longevity. Same here, looking forward, our next step for point source application include demonstration at scale. We already commenced the design of a small-scale mobile pilot unit, and our goal is to have it effective and operational in 2026. Now, let me share with you our approach to monetize our disruptive technologies. We have broad partnership and license opportunities along both the CCS and the DAC supply chain. This will provide us with accelerated market penetration, innovation scaling into multiple sectors globally, risk mitigation through diversified partnerships and their JVs, and will result with diversified revenue streams, as you can see on the right side. We have already ongoing discussion with multiple parties, industrial parties and others, and will update you once it will be materialized. As to our go-to-market strategy, our initial focus is to secure pilot projects with industry leaders to showcase real-world value. Once we got it, the next step is scalability, expand into multiple sectors globally after proof of concept. Of course, giving our corrosion inhibitor product, the oil and gas industry will be prioritized segment for DAC application, given our activity in this market, given our being recognizing all those partners within this industry and the need for this industry to offset carbon emissions. Now, let me spend a few minutes just looking into the market opportunity. We are currently in early stage of a highly growing market, which is expected to grow for more than 15x in the next decade. As climate goal becomes more stringent, deployment of carbon capture technologies become essential to achieve net zero objectives. And this is why, driven by regulatory pressure, corporate commitments to net zero, and government support, the CCS market is poised for growth. With subsidies, tax credits, and funding programs, carbon capture initiatives are now economically viable. And this is why we see more and more applications. To conclude my overview, Dotz cutting-edge carbon capture solution represent a major step forward in the quest of sustainable, scalable technologies to combat climate change. Currently, in the piloting phase toward commercial viability, Dotz solutions are suitable for capturing CO2 for both ambient air and industrial emission, and offering significant reduction in cost of capture. And lastly, we recently got the recognition from the US oil and gas industry of developing a deep tech into commercial viable solution for corrosion inhibitor monitoring. And with that, I conclude my overview, and I would like to share to open the call for the some Q&A. Thank you very much.
That's a great overview, Sharon. Thank you so much. Maybe we could just start out by talking about the market and what differentiates you. The global carbon capture market is expected to grow significantly, as you said. How does Dotz differentiate itself from competitors in this space? And then maybe who are the large competitors? You could sort of walk through that.
Sure. So the short answer for that differentiation is that we developed the world's best performing CO2 capture solvents. But in more details, what makes us different is basically three things. One is the fact that we are targeting both DAC and point source and not focusing only on one application. Those two are major pillars within the net zero strategy moving forward. The second one is the fact that we are coming from the nanomaterials expertise, means that we are focusing on solvent innovation and plug it into design processes, while most of the companies are focusing on process design and engineering. And last one is the fact that our proprietary technology demonstrated superior performance in both applications compared to the leading industry solvents out there for both DAC and solvent.
Thank you for that. That was very helpful. The company has recently developed a highly efficient sorbent for DAC. What makes your technology superior to current industry standards? Maybe you could sort of talk about that.
Sure. I think that the main goal in the industry today and the key driver for future adoption and deployment of those technology will be the cost of capture. Currently, the cost of capture is too high, specifically in DAC. Currently, it's over the $1,000 per ton. And that is why the key market, which is active for carbon credits, is the voluntary market. So what makes us superior is actually the exceptional absorption capacity, which can be easily regenerable in very low temperature. It means that you can generate it with very low energy requirement, and energy considered to be about 60% of the overall cost. So Dotz Sorbent demonstrated the highest absorption capacity for DAC compared to the DAC sorbent available in the market. And we actually demonstrated that can reduce the cost by using this sorbent by more than 85% compared of today.
That's very interesting, Sharon. You recently completed a successful, as you said, lab scale pilot demonstration of your Dotz Earth CO2 carbon capture technology. Are you able to share with us sort of the next milestone on the path to commercializing this, and when's this likely to be achieved, or maybe just give us some more color on that?
Of course. Our first priority for 2025 for the DAC application is to achieve outdoor field demonstration pilot later this year. Our goal is to have this outdoor pilot in the second half of 2025 in collaboration with our partners, and this will be followed by a market-ready module later on in 2026. This is actually a real module. From there, it's just a matter of linear scaling it into a greater systems. We commenced also the design of a small-scale mobile unit for the point source, and we continue to optimize it with the goal to have it operational in 2026. So for both point source and DAC, our next step is piloting towards commercial viability. And in order to do so, we're already in discussion with multiple partners in order to partnership with them, as we believe that strategic partnership will enable us to expedite the development process towards deployment of those technologies and commercialization of those technologies.
And thank you for that. And congratulations on securing your first commercial order for the Dotz Shield. Can you walk us through the significance of this milestone and maybe what it means for future adopters for maybe larger entities?
It was one of the most notable accomplishments in 2024, the first commercial sale of Dotz Shield corrosion inhibitor monitoring solution. which marked a critical step in its commercialization journey, which started back then 5 years ago. This result is a successful sale to a leading oil and gas company in the US, which signals the market recognition of our technology's values, and we are excited to see its continued uptake. In addition, it demonstrates our capability to develop a deep tech technology that was sourced from Rice University in Houston, develop it, scale it up into a commercial valuable solution.
That's great. Maybe you could sort of walk us through what investors, what should we expect in the next 12 months?
So 2024 was very transformative for us, and with a solid foundation in place we achieved in 2024, 2025 promises to be a year of accelerated innovation, collaboration, and impact. Dotz cutting-edge carbon capture solution represent a major step forward in the quest of sustainable, scalable technology and combat climate change. Currently, we are in a piloting phase toward commercial viability, and Dotz solutions are suitable for capturing CO2 for both ambient and industrial emission, and offering significant reduction in cost capture. So our goal for 25 is to create the next stage of piloting, is to demonstrate our technology in a real life. Second, to achieve and secure partnership with leading partners. And lastly, following we got the recognition from the US oil and gas industry of developing deep tech technology to continue and generate revenues from the corrosion inhibitor solution we have.
That's very helpful. Sharon, how do you maybe you've seen some ebb and flows with carbon capture. Another industry that I follow about with aviation, they've sort of talked about sort of a net carbon zero, and obviously the solid waste industry looks at that sort of scope timelines and goals. Over the long term, what's your vision for how carbon capture maybe plays out, maybe on a localized basis and on an international basis? What's your vision?
So I assume it's not the bottom line. That I believe that carbon capture will play a critical role in strategy of net zero or the path to net zero. Actually, the strategies of net zero comprise of 3 main pillars: renewable energies, green energies, whatever you call it, DAC, direct air capture, to reduce the CO2 from the atmosphere, and reducing emission by point source application. Those 3 will be comprised together, and a mixture of them will get to the target. That being said, it's all about commercial viability. Commercial viability derived from the cost of capture. As long as the cost is now getting down because of technologies get matured and because of innovation, it's not a matter of how to get there, but it's all a matter of timing, when we'll get to net zero. And when it depends on the deployment pace moving forward.
And maybe how do you see sort of the customer adoption of saying, hey, we want to be we want to be. I know you're saying we can't get to net carbon zero, but just how is the large scale commercial adoption, the customer's appetite for that going? Would you say globally? Maybe you could give us a pulse of what you're seeing currently in those markets.
So it depends on the 2 applications, on the direct air capture and the point source. For the point source is mainly derived from the regulatories and penalties and subsidies. Means currently hard to have emitters paid for every ton they actually emit. So as long as the cost of capture by those technologies is lower than this penalty, which is around $85 to $100. It depends on the territory and geography. This will lead the deployment. Moving to DAC. DAC mainly used to offset emissions of large entities, large corporates that cannot use point source because they don't have facilities, how to emit facilities. And we see who are the leading procurer of carbon credits. It's the Amazon of the world, the Microsoft, aviation companies like Boeing and other. They are actually buying and carbon credits, and they will dictate the adoption of that hub worldwide.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about that over the long term. Maybe I'll open it up to the audience for the Q&A. And I've got a lot more. Obviously we've talked about tariffs a lot today. This is probably a very convoluted industry when it comes to tariffs with you. How do they impact you, and how do you see that playing out long term for your business if there's this tariff implementation?
So we do see the new administration in the US and the change in atmosphere in the US for those technologies, or for climate technologies. That being said, because we are active also in the oil and gas, we see the flip side of this coin in the US, and we view increasing drilling and increasing production because of that, and because the administration support for webs and for AI fields and everything, this will require energy and electricity. If you have electricity, power generation, emit. At the end of the day, it will get. All it can do is actually postpone the adoption or delay the adoption of those technologies, but increase the demand, because we generate more energy, we actually emit more CO2, and we will have to get it down. So it's a matter of, as I said before, of timing. Currently, the US current administration is less in favor for the adoption in the US, but we see other geographies that is vice versa, and they adopt it and provide more subsidies towards CO2, mainly in Europe and in Asia. And because we are a global company and we have multiple partners in all geographies, we will find the right way to move to the next step of demonstration.
Very, very interesting. It's almost like your own, I guess, Jevons paradox, right? More efficient or more cleaner energy, but more use of it going forward with AI. Maybe just to sum up here, as far as adoption, I know Europe obviously is ahead of most of the world in general, and then you're seeing maybe states like California and other coastal, as they say, as goes California, goes the U.S. What are you seeing there currently for regulations regarding carbon capture?
So today, very difficult to predict, as you know. We understand, given the prior administration and the current administration, we understand the direction, but it is very difficult to predict. It can be locally, it can be on a national level, but because, again, we are working mainly in the US with the oil and gas industry, so we are looking at the oil and gas companies, and we are in discussion with the majority of oil and gas industries to explore the opportunity for them to offset and be involved in carbon capture by any means, mainly in DAC, and to work together. The fact that we already work with the oil and gas industry provides us the ability to extend our offering to them and collaborate with them moving forward, anticipating regulatory to support it.
Well, it looks like you're playing the long game. I like it. Sharon, thank you for being here with us, and hopefully we can get you in person back next year. Great job. Thank you.
Promise you, next time in person. Bye-bye.
Thank you.